saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. There's nothing to you otherwise.
Welcome to the Dangerous Man Podcast, where we talk about how to become a better man, take responsibility for our mission, create value for others, and the many failures and lessons we've learned along the way. Stay dangerous.
Welcome to the Dangerous Man. I am your host, Adam Thooft, joined by co-host
John Kostohris.
What's up?
How we doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yourself?
Happy New Year.
Happy freaking New Year, dude.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
big 2024, baby.
2024? Yeah? Yeah.
It's
2024.
It's gonna get a ring to it.
Gonna be a wild year. It's gonna be a wild year.
You know, I had a realization the other day, Adam, that this literally happened to me while I was at work. I went, wait a minute. I'm 25 years old, and it was 2023, and now it's 2024. And I'm like, dang, next year, it's going to catch up to my age. And then I realized, no, then I'm going to turn 26, and then I'll be still 2 years away from the current year because I was born in 1998.
Yeah.
I will always be 2 years behind.
You'll never catch up. It'll never happen.
That's my kind of started out the year with a great thought there. I was
Whoops. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's crazy. Have you been having some other crazy thoughts lately, or?
Have I?
Yeah.
I mean, I bought an expensive ride cymbal because I'm a drummer, and I just was researching one, and I went, why not? Let's spend half my paycheck on a nice piece of metal.
But you were like thinking about like, oh, I wonder if I got a new snare. Oh, what if I like? Dude, it could be cool if it sounds this way.
I was having dreams with how good my tone is going to be. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
so
okay.
if that's crazy thoughts you meant, then I did that. So let's go.
Oh, this is going to sound so good. It's pretty crazy. In the new year, I've been doing a lot of different stuff.
Have you had any crazy thoughts, Adam?
Oh yeah. I've crazy thoughts of I'm a badass.
Let's go.
Because I'm actually doing 75 hard in the new year. So for those of you who don't know what 75 hard is, it's a mental toughness program put together by Andy Frisella. You can listen to his Real AF podcasts on Spotify and everywhere for podcasts and whatnot. But basically it's just like a super hard, like 75 days, which I mean, it's called 75 hard. But basically like to put it simply, it's like 2 workouts. One of them has to be outside, drink a gallon of water, read 10 pages. You have to stick to a diet. You can't have any cheat meals. If you mess up on any of those, then you have to start over from day one.
Yeah.
And like the main thing with like starting over is so that you actually stick to it and not be like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Today I'll just take it a little bit easy.
Right. Like, day 50, I'm still with it. We're like, bro, you did like 5 days.
Like that's
sure you could start again, but
that's why it's like, well,
do it every day, man.
If you're not consistent, it doesn't really count. That's basically why it's like the starting over again thing.
If you're gonna do it, actually do it. And I love that.
But I mean, obviously it's like January in Minnesota, so it's cold. And the first day I was like, I'm gonna, because one of the exercises has to be outside, one of the workouts. So I went for a 5-mile run, in the cold, but also
today.
No, that was on the 1st of January.
Let's go.
And I listened to part of like the Rocky IV like soundtrack, so I was like kind of punching the air a little bit as I was running. I was like, oh yeah, I'm so cool right now. And the thing is, I haven't really ran a whole lot recently, so I was like, I'm running way farther than I thought I was gonna be able to. Right. Like, I'm actually kind of BA right now. But also
5 miles after not really running, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah. The thing is the shoes that I was wearing sucked because I've probably put over like 700 miles on those shoes. So they're kind of beat to shit. Yeah, so my... So
you're basically running barefoot then at that point?
No, it's the outside part of my right foot is in a lot of pain. So then the next day, my exercise was walking outside, and by walking I mean limping because my foot hurt a lot. But I also did that like before.
That's gotta be a spectacle right there.
Granted, I'm like, okay, some people be like, oh, you're walking, that's not really a workout. It's like, well, yeah, but if I'm getting up before 5 a.m. and walking outside in the dark and the cold, and my foot hurts, so I'm basically limping around for like 45 minutes, I think that counts as going hard, you know, like so but
I'm pretty sure you burn more calories limping for a few miles than you do walking with ease. So
yeah, probably. Well, the thing is like you have to have more mental toughness to do it.
Yeah, which I think is kind of the point of the program, right?
Yeah, that's literally the point of the program. So I'm like, I don't think I'm going against anything by like going for a walk, even though like other people who have done the program do walks outside too. So it's like, but I'm like, I have enough difficulty because it's really cold outside. It's dark. I had to get up super early,
right?
And like not listen to my bed logic of, oh, but you could still have time to do both of them after work. It's like, yeah, but that's gonna be tight. I'm gonna get up and do this.
That's a good choice.
So like, you know, it's really important that I'll be like, no, I can do this. Anyway, speaking of talking about stuff, I've also been reading a book for 75 Hard because
hence the 10 pages.
Hence the 10 pages. The book I've been reading is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter, PhD.
Say the title one more time.
What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. I've really enjoyed it. He goes into a lot of stuff of like how self-talk affects you, but he kind of leads into it by talking about how your brain works with neuroplasticity, which that's a kind of a big word. That's a
$5 word right there.
Yeah, I was about to say like 50-cent word, but we're measuring it on different scales, I think. But it basically means that your brain changes because like you have a bunch of nerves that a massive amount of nerve like neurons, like nerve cells that make up your brain, right?
Yeah.
And they're kind of like a bunch of different like cords that are connected to each other. And like basically you'll travel down, like your thoughts and whatnot will travel through them. But the thing is, we used to think it was all like set in stone and can't be changed. But the more neuroscience has kind of like gone into it, we've realized neuroplasticity is very much a thing. And your brain actually like changes and moves based on all of your experiences, and literally everything that you do, all of your experiences, everything you say to yourself, everything that like changes the shape of your brain.
Whoa. So it's like the literal lobo shape or like pathway shape.
Yeah. So like the pathways, so you'll make different connections based on your thoughts
like,
and stuff.
I was like, I'm pretty sure my skull is only shaped one way, so I don't.
No, it's like inside.
I die and they open up my skull and it's like, oh, his brain is shaped like a star now. I was like,
no, it's on like a cellular
neural level. Okay,
it's on like it's pretty small, but over a large area.
Everyone's gonna be like, who is this guy, John? Like, shut up.
Yeah.
That's great.
But
so is it less like a car drives from point A to point B straight line? It's like, well, it's more like potentially like a zigzag or
it's like
potential turns and
it's like, well, we could drive there, but like I have to go here, here, and here. But the thing is the more you do something, that's the reason why one of the reasons, like the brain reason why they say like repetition is the mother of learning, is because the more you do something or the more you go down a certain pathway, it strengthens that pathway. You can kind of think about it like every time it goes down like an area, it like, thickens like the cord or the rope, like, rope. So at one point it was like, oh, I get there by like this little thought crawls, like if the thought is like an ant or whatnot, it goes,
my thoughts.
Yeah. It goes kind of, even though your thoughts are actually more of like the cords themselves. But it's like has a thought that's like a string, but then like the more you like think that thought and think the about that stuff and use that pathway, it like does more strings until it kind of becomes more like a rope. So that's why like repetition is super important. But anyway, that's like neuroplasticity. Everything kind of like changes.
This is also like, before we move on, this is the classic example of like, again, you're driving a car. It's like, have you ever, I know I have you ever been driving and you're like coming home from work and you're going home, or actually better yet, it's your off day and you find yourself driving to work, and by the time you like shake your head and go, oh, I was in autopilot mode, you're like, dude, why am I driving to work? It's like, because you've done it so many times that when you get on Highway 35, your brain's like, I'm going to work.
Oh yeah.
That's the classic, like,
it's like, I wasn't intending to go here, but now I found myself taking this turn when I'm actually supposed to take a different turn because I'm so used to driving to work.
When you in autopilot mode, That's the classic example of this principle. But yeah.
And that's also like your subconscious doing stuff. So it's like you have your conscious and then you have your subconscious. And your subconscious will just kind of do stuff automatically based off of the structure of your brain.
Based off, okay. These pathways. Very good.
Yeah. But basically what he's getting to in the book a lot is that everything that we're told and everything that we tell ourselves has a huge impact on how our brain is structured, because we're always like talking to ourselves in some way, either that or having someone talk to us. If someone's not talking to us, we're like talking to ourselves. And some of like our self-talk is like kind of subconscious where we don't really notice it, where it's just kind of like an emotional reaction to something or like kind of just under the hood more. But sometimes it's also like very, very obvious.
Sure.
Like he gives an example of he was grabbing food with a friend, talking about neuroplasticity and stuff. And
this is the author of the book.
Yeah, the author of the book, Shad, which I wonder if that's short for something, but
Shadrach.
Yeah, that's what I think, honestly. But I have no idea. It might just be like a nickname that he just goes, but I don't know. But
having lunch with the Bendigo, right?
Yeah, or me Shaq. Yeah.
Sorry, Bible reference. Just some of the best children's names ever. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay. Anyways, so Shad was having lunch with a colleague.
He was having lunch with a colleague.
Yes.
And the waiter brings them their food, but she trips and like spills the food everywhere. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so clumsy." And that's like, whoa, that's an example of like self-talk that she would like say all the time is, "I'm clumsy."
Right.
And he kind of gets more into how like your brain, because it's subconsciously like just kind of automatically does stuff. The more you like consciously tell it a certain thing, it's kind of like programming it, kind of like programming a computer to do a certain thing when you give it a certain input. The example that he uses in the book and that I've experienced in my real life is remembering names. Because the thing is like I'll go to parties a lot and I'll like forget people's names and be like, oh man, like names are so hard, man. Like I'm really bad at remembering names. Like we can just like I'll try to remember it and like whatever, but like I give people patience because like I'm bad at remembering names. So I'm basically giving people a pass for not remembering my name sometimes too.
Because of that. Yeah.
Because of that. But also notice what I'm doing there too is I'm also saying I'm bad at remembering names. But the thing is subconsciously, if what Shad goes into the book is like subconsciously, I'll talk to someone and be like, they'll tell me their name and then we like keep talking and stuff. But my brain takes that and be like, oh, here's a name. What are we expected to do in this situation? I have this information that is this name. What are we expected to do? Oh yeah, we're bad at remembering names. We don't need that. Throws it out and then just like, all right.
And there the Boston Tea Party happens.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What was their job? Okay. Okay. This is an interesting thing about them. Okay. Yeah. Oh, they have 3 siblings. Okay. Yeah. What was their name again? Oh yeah. We don't need to remember that. Like
we're bad at remembering names.
Yeah. Because we're bad at remembering names and we can just use that as a cover up. So like the thing is,
it quote unquote doesn't need the information because the brain doesn't think it's important, right?
Yeah, but also I haven't felt like stress from like or embarrassment from like not remembering someone's name because I just go, I'm just really bad at remembering names. So
right.
Like that's something that I've talked into myself, and it makes it so I haven't remembered names.
Dang.
But yeah, he brings up brings that up in the book where it's like, wow, like, did I do this to myself?
Wow.
So he also brings up like how much negative we can kind of hear growing up. I think it's 149,000. I'm looking up the number really quick.
Yeah, I hear the pages turning.
148,000 no's when we're growing up from, oh, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so it's all this, like,
this would be from
like parents, teachers, peers, friends, sports coaches. Oh, hey, that career wouldn't be good for you. You wouldn't be good at that career.
Yeah.
Oh, like, you're just not very coordinated. Oh, you're like, you know, and he actually goes through a giant list of like self, like, of like some of these things. And it's just like, wow, there's a lot of things. And then people will tell them to you a bunch, and then you might tell them to yourself.
Right. Is that that's what you're getting at with this story of the waitress who trips and says, I'm clumsy.
Is like, how many times did she in her mind say like, oh, you know, I'm a bit of a klutz. I'm a clumsy person. I kind of like drop stuff every now and then. How many times does she say that instead of, actually, no, I'm a very sturdy person.
So is the idea that maybe she heard stuff like this growing up, but now she just tells herself these things at this point?
Yeah, like it could have been like someone tripped her in like in kindergarten and called her a klutz or something like that to make fun of her. And then she's like, well, maybe I am.
Dang.
And it could have been something simple like that she might not,
or it could have been even just an experience, right?
Yeah.
Like it.
Like she just tripped one time.
Does Shadrach say that you need to have somebody say this to you, or could it be like an experience to
so it's literally everything. It's like all your experiences, all your senses,
right? Whatever senses the brain is getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it could be from a multitude of different things, and that's why like if people were going to like a therapist, he actually brings this up in the book. If someone goes into a therapist, like they go back to like where's the source of like the pain and go back to your childhood or whatever, because they're trying to go back to like where it first started.
Yeah.
And then help them realize like, hey, like that was actually like given to you. That's not actually like you. But at the same time, what he's talking about is in what to say when you talk to yourself. Like we actually do talk to ourselves and say lots of like, I mean, think about like, when's the last time you said like, oh man, I've just kind of like, you know, I'm just kind of sad today. Like I've just struggled with depression, and, you know, like that's some pretty, like,
yeah,
you know, and the thing is you say those things because you've like experienced them, but they're negative and you don't actually really want to experience them, but it is what you kind of like know.
I've definitely had moments where I've felt sad or kind of down, and I've actually said like, oh, I'm depressed. And I've caught myself and gone like, wait a minute. Am I depressed, or am I putting that label on myself because I'm feeling sad? Like it's not a bad thing to feel emotions. And I've actually read a lot of different studies and like, you know, psychologists talking about that if we shut off one of our emotions, we shut them all off. And I'm not going to get into all that, but the point being, like, it's good to feel and experience emotions. But I think what's interesting here is like, you know, are we, by putting labels on ourselves or kind of speaking these beliefs, these self-talk, right? Is the word he used, these negative self-talk over us. Are we just writing the subtitles to our gravestones? Adam Thooft. He was bad with names. You know what I mean? Like, we're just doing that to ourselves. And in reality, it's like, no, I feel sad, and I'm sure this will pass. And I'm sure I won't be sad later.
That's crazy.
But yet we walk around and we have social anxiety, right? Because we are quote unquote bad at remembering names. you know.
Which like sometimes I think the only reason why I'm like bad at remembering names is because I give myself that out, or I figured out, oh, like I'm just bad at names. Like I'm just like, forgive me for not remembering your name. I'm just really bad at names.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Whereas if I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry for like actually just slap me in the face because I didn't remember your name. Like,
because it's important.
Yeah.
I mean, I have another thought there of like, you were talking about names. I personally have found in the past, I'm going to talk about this very strategically.
Yeah.
In the past, I have found that I have generally struggled with math and with numbers.
Uh-huh.
I don't know exactly when it started, but I do have some core memories when I was in 3rd grade and I was kicking and screaming doing my math homework, and my dad was there. Probably not super important for this.
Sounds like
story.
a pretty common experience, though.
Yeah. And I think I probably decided like, oh, I hate math. I'm bad with math. And I mean, when I was in high school, I actually didn't go past algebra 2. I did algebra 1, algebra 2. And my mom said, you are really interested in music, and I don't really see you doing anything in math related career. So like, I'm not going to make you do all this calculus and stuff. And I was like, thank you, because I don't like math and I hate it and I'm bad at it. Which, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm still grateful I didn't have to do more math in high school. But the point of the story is
everyone's grateful that they don't have to do more school, except for academics. But like,
yeah, if you love academics,
I don't understand those people.
Yeah.
If you're an academic, hit me up, because I want to know how your brain works.
Anyway. I want to pay you to do my homework for me. Yeah, I'm not in school anymore. Thank goodness. Woo. But the point being, for a long time, I actually had this belief over myself that I'm bad at math. Oh, I terrible at math. I suck with numbers. I'm bad with numbers. I genuinely would say this out loud and to other people and to myself. And you know what's really funny is, okay, so I'm a musician, right? You know what's really funny, Adam, is you use a lot of numbers in music.
Yeah.
For instance, a lot of times musicians, I'll keep this really like, synthesized. We don't like talk key, we might say like key of A, but like, we don't really use letters for like which chords we're doing. I'm playing a G and a C and a D and an E minor. Like a lot of beginner guitar players do that. But like when you actually get into music, like there's 8 notes to a scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And we just use numbers. We just literally talk numbers to each other. And so for a while I was like, oh, I'm so bad with math and numbers. And I actually struggled with that a ton. And I remember I was in college, I was at music school, I was taking Music Theory 1, and I remember learning this stuff, and in my head, the thought came to me, maybe this isn't so hard, and maybe if you applied yourself a bit here, this could benefit you for the rest of your life. And I took a gamble on it, and I said, you know what? I'm not bad at math or numbers anymore. And guess what? I'm really good with numbers and music now. And a lot of that kind of stuff, it might be simple numbers, but like I struggle with numbers, and I struggled with like Ohm's law calculating electricity when I was doing like live sound stuff for concerts. I struggle with that. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to learn this and be good at it. And I'm not going to say that I'm bad at it anymore because it's important to me. And I'm pretty good at that stuff now. And so I feel like it really is a mind over matter thing. But it came back to my, that's what I love what you're saying in this book, because I actually really relate to that. And that's one instance that I've personally gained a lot of freedom in. But I know when I even thinking about this book, I'm thinking of all these other things. I'm like, you know what? I wonder what other things that I need to change in my mind. Things that I speak over myself all the time that I believe,
Like that's neuroplasticity, man. Like you put it to work.
Nah, man.
The big neuro P, man.
I feel like we're hippies right now. Like, dude, that's the neuroplasticity, dude.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Totally tubular, bro.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is great though.
The tubes in the brain be like plastic and stuff.
Bro, what you smoking? But and I'm just curious, kind of what some of your thoughts are on like. Okay, so you mentioned neuroplasticity. You mentioned how brainwaves are formed, pathways are formed and strengthened, and the repetition. I'm just kind of curious if what else is there as far as like, I guess you mentioned this to me off the cuff a little bit, but like, I guess how does that work with, like, what is his concept with that, and I guess are we How do can we overcome that? Like what's the science there?
Because like you're always talking to yourself. That's kind of what he talks about in the book, is that you're like always talking to yourself, whether it's like subconscious and sometimes it's like really conscious, like when you say, I'm bad at saying names, or the waitress being like, I'm so clumsy, very obvious self-talk.
Yeah.
And we do this like a lot, right? And because that's like one of the most repetitive things that we do, that is one of the things that also has the biggest effect on our brain.
Huh.
So then like, basically you can kind of alludes to like, you can reprogram your brain based off of your self-talk. That's why the book is called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. Because it's talking about self-talk. So,
right.
Yeah.
If you can, and I know there's another book by an author, Dr. I forget her name. We talked about her earlier.
Caroline Leaf.
She writes a book about the brain and being able to actually reprogram and rewire the brain.
She's also
I know she talks about like addiction and stuff too.
So.
Neuroscience. She is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's just I don't know. I feel like that's a very hopeful thing because, you know, if essentially by repetition and by what is going through our minds, you know, you're saying that our brain is very words and language driven and also images, right? But if we can actually like change our thoughts and we can maybe, I mean, this is basic habits, right? You read books like, you know, what's that? Atomic Habits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know they go a little bit into the science.
Even
of,
just like
how to form a habit, you know,
some people's mantra of like, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you like have to like actually like think about something differently in order for something to change. But anyway,
that's great. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, crazy stuff with neuroplasticity. Aren't our brains crazy,
dude? I know. It's like, I mean, when I first heard that, it blew my mind because I was like, wait a minute. Like, well, first of all, it's crazy that through like certain actions like addiction, like drinking or drugs, we can form such intense patterns.
Yeah.
And like, it's not just like, oh, he just does that from time to time. Like, it's like, no, researchers have looked at the brain and gone, this guy's brain is literally like wired for these behavior patterns now.
Yeah.
Over time. But how literally they've taken people with addiction, pornography to drugs, alcohol, and they've seen them continue to change their behavior and their lifestyle. And this is the case for, I referenced the story of, you know, the soldiers in Vietnam, U.S. soldiers in Vietnam getting into like hard drugs and then coming home and their environment changes and they're not around it anymore. And all of a sudden addiction goes away. But it's like,
because like a lot of the starts of those pathways,
those triggers, right?
Like those triggers, which are like basically like, you can almost think of like in your brain triggers. Like this is the way that I make sense of it anyway.
And I don't want to get super into that.
Yeah, super into it. But like the different triggers are like, if your neural pathways are like roads, it's like, oh, the trigger is like, are you taking a left or, oh, take a left here instead of taking a right.
Like getting to that intersection.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't even go down the pathway essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes like scientific sense. You know, but it's also just interesting of like, we can kind of reprogram, like they've been done research and found out that over years, this person's brain actually looks different than it did when they were doing drugs and alcohol. And they can actually see like the brain waves and it's completely different. The activity is completely different. They've reprogrammed and rewired the brain. And that's more or less kind of a recent progression in science. And obviously there's a couple books like this one, there's a couple books coming out talking about it. And it's really cool and really exciting.
Yeah.
To, you know, I guess when I hear it, I'm encouraged that I have control in my life.
Yeah.
Even science backs me up that I can choose a path. And, you know, it might be difficult. It might take some grit. You know, like you're doing 75 hard right now.
Yeah. And it's not like
it's
not like you've had like a giant long time of like telling your, like, it's not like I have this, I've had several years of saying I'm bad at names. And I just think, no, I'm good at remembering names. And I'm just good at remembering names from then on. That's not like, I have to keep telling myself, hey, I'm good at remembering names, and then actually try to like remember people's names more. And if I do that enough, then I'll actually become good at remembering names.
Right. But at least you aren't like cutting yourself off from that reality.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the first step is releasing that belief and being like, I don't want to believe this anymore. I don't want it to have power over my life. I mean, what does that look like? I mean, when I was doing music and with the whole math and numbers things, I still don't think I'm great at math, but at least I haven't cut myself off from being able to get into numbers and to do it if I needed it, you know? And I think the first realization was like, okay, I'm not bad at numbers. I just haven't done it much. Let me take the time and learn. That thought chain is one that I can continue to revisit. You know, it's like the example of, I'm bad at saxophone. You know, it's like, okay, so I'm having this conversation with someone on the street, right? And I'm like, well, have you played saxophone? They're like, yeah, when I was in middle school, I played for, I tried playing it for a month. And how many times did you practice? Like 2 or 3 times that month. It's like, so you've played the saxophone 3 times physically and you're bad at saxophone. Maybe you just haven't done it that much. It's like
actually, everyone who's played saxophone only 3 times is bad.
Pretty terrible. Yeah,
like I can pretty confidently say everyone, except like maybe there's a couple of child prodigies, but like the people that are like really good second time in, they've already learned like a woodwind instrument or like a different instrument that's like really similar to that translates a little bit. But if you haven't played any instruments. And you're just gonna play a saxophone, you're gonna suck for a little while.
Yeah, and so it's like, how powerful is the truth and the reality in life? You know, where it's like, oh, I'm sad versus I'm depressed, and it's like just having a bit of a sense of like, I'm gonna be more truthful and not let these negatives take control and cut me off from ever being good at something or ever. I'm stuck in depression because I believe that I'm depressed eternally. And it's like...
Yeah, like you don't want to believe like you're just a depressed person.
No.
I don't... And like... so and like people...
It will keep you in that loop.
And people think...
Scientifically.
And there's people that think that is the case and they identify with that.
I know I have.
But those people that are in that situation also don't actually want to be depressed. But they are so used to telling themselves that they are.
Wow.
So it's like, that's like, we're so negative to ourselves sometimes. Like, one of the reasons why I'm doing 75 hard is because I'm like, man, I said I was going to do these things and I've waited way too long to do these things. I want to be able to trust myself to get things done.
Wow.
So that's like, well, let me recalibrate my brain through doing 75 hard so I can actually like have more confidence in that I will do the things that I say I'm going to do. And like 75 hard will give me some like evidence, but also rewire my brain a little bit to be like, oh, I actually am capable of doing these things. Like I'm only on day 3.
Yeah.
And I've already noticed certain things of like, wait a minute. I am capable of more stuff than I thought I was. Like, part of me was like, okay, I have to get up and work at like 6. Well, I'm just not a morning person, so I am only gonna there it is. But so I'm gonna get up like minimal amount of time before I have to go to work. But then while I'm on 75 hard, I'm like, oh, I have to get this workout in, so I woke up early. Freaking went for a 45-minute limp outside, like dragging my leg, and then
I'm just getting the funniest images in my head right now. And we're off to the races. 3, 2, 1, and limp. He's got a limp on the other guy. And now he's
imagine
if the Latino announcer is just going nuts. Goal! He turns the corner. Just like 5 guys like limping.
Imagine if that was like limping was like an Olympic sport.
That's what's going in my head, dude.
You like basically
a respectable sport.
So how do you train for the Olympic sport of limping? Well, on day 1, your coach breaks your leg, and then you never get that leg back.
There has to be certain like points, you know, like the way you move your ankle and your foot is like if it resembles too much of a normal stance, then like you docked points or something. It's like
or
you
get disqualified. Yeah, it's like a very specific technique of limping.
You're right. Maybe they just do hack your shin with like a baseball bat right before the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel like the longevity would be very good. But then again, football.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. But the thing is like, I don't know.
American football. Sorry for all of our international listeners. I mean, tackling, hitting.
Pretty much. But like for me to wake up and be able to, you know, do those things, and be like, wait, like I was literally thinking like while I was limping, I was like, this is really nice being up this early.
Yeah.
Wow. I should do this more often. Even when I'm not doing this like thing, like walking outside by myself and having my thoughts early in the morning and getting stuff done. Wow, this feels great.
Wow.
Even though I'm freaking limping right now.
Wow.
You know, so I also went for a 45-minute limp today. So it was interesting. I was like, I told one of my housemates like, hey, so if I get stuck somewhere, I'm just gonna call you and be like, hey, can you come get me? I'm stuck. you know. But
I'm
like
hopping on one foot.
But yeah, but like a lot of people would be like, oh, you know, my foot hurts. I'm not gonna go do this walk thing today. But
right. Or they might just come up with the I just don't walk.
Yeah. Or it's like no, I don't walk outside during the winter.
Right. And that becomes the new mantra that they
Yeah.
You know.
But because I'm doing 75 hard, I'm like, no, I'm a person who does 2 workouts a day because I'm doing 75 hard. So I'm gonna just figure out a way to get it done.
Right.
And I also like, you know, being like, I'm a badass.
That's so needed as men to
push
through
bitch.
Things. Right. One day you're gonna have a family and more responsibility on your shoulders, and you're gonna go, just don't walk outside during the winter.
Like,
fuck you, bitch. Like, dude, you got people that depend on you.
Yeah, you know, like,
bro.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's not gonna float. You know what I mean?
Like I want, but the thing is like having the confidence to actually be like, no, I am confident myself that I will do the things to get done because I will tell myself the right things.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that's just like
self-leadership right there.
I mean, it's freaking telling yourself the right stuff. It's, you know,
what to say.
What to say when you talk to yourself. Well,
that should be like a course that we take, man, growing up. Like,
yeah. Like there should be a class in school that's called self-talk.
Yeah. Let's talk about how to have control in our mind and over things we think. Sounds like a very useful life skill.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh. I love that, man. I'm glad you're reading that book and appreciate you coming on the show and sharing that insight. I mean, it's it's honestly incredible how a concept can spark a really, really good just like discussion, really good reflection, you know, and I'm sure you'll discover even more insight when you go deeper into reading this more, but 10 pages a day, right?
10 pages a day.
Stay consistent, man. And
cranking through it. It's fun, even though if you fall asleep in the middle of it and then like, cause I think I was like 3 pages in, I like fell asleep just cause I was really tired from getting up and going to bed late, getting up early. And then I woke up and I'm like, you know, I'm just read 10 pages from where I left off. So I've read a little bit more than 10 pages, but that's like kind of the what you could say is like the spirit of 75 hard is like, make sure you got it done. But yeah, huge things, big neuroplasticity, Neuro P as his gangster name is.
Oh yeah. Neuro P.
Oh
dude.
Yeah. That's dude, like just being able to actually change like but like when it comes like something that I think about is like how much stuff have I told myself that I really need to like change and like you know like is there something that like I've just always assumed about myself that is actually like really groundless? It's just I've always told myself that. I'm going like, if there is, I gotta find it.
Yeah.
And I gotta change that because that might completely change my life.
Bro, if you don't find those things, You're going to find them written on your gravestone, dude.
I don't want that to be on my gravestone. Adam Thooft, really bad at names.
The subtitle on our gravestones, dude, are their negative self-talk.
For sure.
I'm taking that one to the bank. So share the show if you want to help other men embrace danger and become truly great. You've been listening to The Dangerous Man. Join us next time. Until then,
claim your greatness
and stay dangerous.